Visit Builders Paradise today at the CA Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
Good night and welcome again to another episode of Let's Talk. Tonight I'm your host, Mr. Conrad Liebert. It's the first time I'm doing this, so it's an experience for me. Tonight's program will be divided into two sections. The first section, we have personnel from the Ministry of Tourism, and I would let him introduce himself to you. But before I do that, I would just like to invite callers to participate, and just remember that you must first respect yourself and to respect others also. And just for the sake of time, you probably can make a jottings on a piece of paper when you call in, so you can be pretty precise and concise about what you want to say, so that we can use as less time as possible with individual callers. I would also like to say that our standards are high, and we would not tolerate anything that we regard as below our established standards. So once again, welcome to Let's Talk. And as I said before, tonight's session is divided into two sections. First, we have personnel from the Ministry of Tourism, and without any further ado, I would ask Mr. John Hanley to speak on his purpose here tonight.
Good evening to everyone, and again, welcome to another insightful episode of Let's Talk, where we delve into pressing issues shaping our Nevisian society and our world at large. We are indeed grateful to Mr. Herbert and the staff here at One Radio for allowing us a moment to share our thoughts with the general public on the theme for our Tourism Awareness Month 2024, which is Tourism Connecting Through Peace and Diversity. I also want to thank my fellow panelists, Ms. Jane Hanson of Sponge Marketing, for agreeing to share in this discussion. I will address the topic from a government or public sector point of view, while Jane will take more of a private sector perspective. As we embark on this discussion, it is critical to acknowledge the pivotal role of the Ministry of Tourism in shaping the tourism landscape of our nation. At the heart of our mandate lies the responsibility for product development, ensuring that our destination offers memorable experiences that captivate travelers from around the world. In today's rapidly evolving world, the link between tourism, peace, and diversity has never been more significant. As we stand at the crossroads of globalization, it is essential to recognize the profound impact that tourism can have on fostering peace and celebrating diversity. Tourism at its core is a bridge builder. It connects people from different cultures, backgrounds, and perspectives. When we travel, we not only explore new destinations, but we immerse ourselves in unfamiliar traditions, languages, and cuisines. These experiences cultivate understanding, tolerance, and respect for diversity. Moreover, tourism has the power to promote peace by creating economic opportunities and fostering cultural exchange. By investing in tourism infrastructure and promoting travel to diverse destinations, we can stimulate economic growth, alleviate poverty, and promote stability in communities around the world. When people have jobs, education, and opportunities, they are less likely to resort to conflict, which of course is the antithesis of peace. Furthermore, tourism can serve as a tool for conflict resolution and reconciliation. Through initiatives like cultural exchanges, heritage tourism, and peace-building programs, communities torn apart by conflict can come together to heal wounds, build trust, and forge a path towards peace and reconciliation. Peace, as we know, forms the cornerstone of any thriving tourism industry. Travelers seek destinations where they can relax, explore, and create cherished memories with their loved ones. Without peace and stability, our efforts to attract visitors would be in vain. It is the assurance of safety and security that encourages travelers to venture beyond their borders and immerse themselves in new cultures and experiences. So let's contextualize the topic and examine how peace can impact tourism product development on Nevis. First of all, Nevis is considered to be a tranquil retreat. Nevis's reputation as a peaceful and serene destination is a significant draw for travelers seeking a tranquil retreat. Marketing efforts highlight the island's peaceful atmosphere, emphasizing its secluded beaches, lush landscapes, and unhurried pace of life to attract visitors looking for relaxation and rejuvenation. Nevis is also known as a safe environment, and its low crime rate and stable political climate contribute to its image as a safe and secure destination. Tourism marketing campaigns capitalize on this perspective by showcasing the island as a safe haven for travelers, especially families, solo travelers, and retirees seeking peace of mind during their vacation. Wellness tourism is another aspect of peace. Of course, peaceful environments are conducive to wellness tourism. It can be argued that with its hot springs, Nevis is arguably the birthplace of wellness tourism in the Caribbean. Nevis's natural beauty and its tranquil ambience make it an ideal destination for wellness retreats, spa vacations, and mindfulness experiences. Our product development focuses on wellness-focused accommodations, activities, and services to cater to health-conscious travelers. And of course, as part of peace, we also offer authentic cultural experiences. Peace allows for the preservation and celebration of Nevis's rich cultural heritage. Tourism product development can incorporate authentic cultural experiences such as traditional music and dance performances, heritage tours, and culinary experiences to provide visitors with meaningful insights into the island's history and traditions. And peace also fosters community engagement and collaboration, is essential for implementing sustainable tourism practices on Nevis. Product development initiatives can prioritize environmental conservation, responsible tourism management, and community empowerment to ensure the long-term sustainability of our island's tourism industry. And let me end by looking at the last aspect of the topic, which is diversity. So we can ask ourselves, why is it important to consider diversity as we develop our tourism product in Nevis? But first of all, I would say that it makes economic sense. Our grandparents always told us it doesn't make sense to put all of our eggs into one basket. For such a small island, Nevis has a very wide array of talents and resources, and it makes sense to develop a wide variety of these talents and resources, monetize these things that sometimes we pretty much take for granted, these things that seem very ordinary to us. We need to develop them so that we have some variety in our product, and we are able to cater to a wider number of persons, and also in the event of any economic disruption, we have something to fall back on. Diversity is also important because it reflects our diverse cultural heritage. Our heritage here on Nevis is influenced by African, European, and indigenous traditions, and offers a wealth of opportunities for tourism product development. Marketing campaigns highlight the island's cultural diversity through festivals. We have many festivals on Nevis, such as Culturama. Upcoming, we have the Nevis Mango Festival. Last week, Saturday, we had Nevis Heritage Festival at the park, where we celebrated not just the culture of Nevis, but also the culture of at least 10 different nations in the Caribbean and in Africa. So it's very important to celebrate diversity. So we celebrate, as we are doing our marketing through the Nevis Tourism Authority, we celebrate the island's diversity through festivals, museums, art galleries, historical landmarks, and these attract cultural enthusiasts and heritage tourists. One of the best things that people often report liking about Nevis is its culinary scene, and it certainly reflects our diverse cultural influences with a fusion of flavors and ingredients from around the world. Our marketing and product development promote the island's diverse culinary offerings, including local specialties such as goat water, turned corn and steamed fish, coconut dumplings, hot bread and butter, which you can get at the Heritage Village, our seafood dishes, and these entice food-loving travelers seeking authentic gastronomic experiences. Of course, the Ministry of Tourism is seeking to actively encourage our taxi operators and our tour guides to create and sell culinary tours. One of the things about Nevis is that people love our island so much that they keep coming back year after year. And if I'm a visitor and I'm coming to Nevis every summer for 10 years, each year when I come back I would want something different. So that is why we do actively encourage our stakeholders, our practitioners, to branch out a bit and offer things like food tours, because these in other destinations have proven to be very well sought after, heavily sought after aspects of our tourism product. Of course, also as part of our diversity, we have a number of ecotourism adventures. Nevis has natural landscapes including rainforests, volcanic peaks, coral reefs, and these provide ample opportunities for ecotourism adventures. And our product development, in our product development drive, we focus on eco-friendly accommodations, nature tours, hiking trails, and marine activities to showcase the island's biodiversity and environmental beauty. And of course, we love to celebrate diversity, and Nevis has a welcoming and inclusive atmosphere which celebrates diversity and makes it a welcoming destination for travelers of all backgrounds and identities. Tourism marketing campaigns promote Nevis as a diverse and inclusive destination, emphasizing its acceptance of different cultures, religions, and it appeals to a wide range of visitors. And that being said, of course, it is very important for us to, while accepting and tolerant of other cultures and religions, etc., of course, we have to ensure that we also maintain our Nevisian identity. Community engagement is a very important part of diversity, and community-based tourism is something that the Ministry of Tourism heavily stresses. So we always make sure that our communities are engaged and we have strong collaboration with our community stakeholders, because we want our local community residents and businesses to benefit from tourism, and that's an important facet of sustainable tourism. Product development initiatives involve local communities in decision-making processes, empower indigenous artisans and entrepreneurs, and support cultural preservation efforts that ensure that tourism benefits are equitably distributed across society. As we navigate the complexities of the tourism industry, let us remember that peace and diversity are not just buzzwords. They are the bedrock upon which successful tourism product development is built. By prioritizing these principles in our strategies and initiatives, we can ensure that our nation continues to thrive as a premier destination for travelers seeking connection, enlightenment, and adventure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanley. I will now introduce to you the second guest for our program tonight, Ms. Jane Hanson, Director of Sponge Marketing. And
hi, thank you.
Go right ahead.
Okay, well, thank you, John. That was great. I mean, I think you touched on many, many important points. I mean, to pick up on the first one, the advantages that we have in promoting Nevis as a peaceful island, I think it's very clear. I mean, as the world becomes more and more unstable, tourists will simply look for safe places to come on holiday, which I think is very important. So it's great that very important that we have a kind of a peaceful image. And secondly, it's something that Nevis can really live up to. It is an absolute USP of this island over many other destinations which are much noisier and which just really cannot say that they are peaceful and tranquil. So that's really the first thing I wanted to say. So conversely, crime is terrible for our destination's image and terrible for the growth of the tourism industry. So, it's very important that, we can portray ourselves as a very kind of peaceful, tranquil island, in order to continue to bring tourists our way. And lastly, the importance of our country embracing diversity. I really think this is a really important point, actually, and it's very sad but often true that all destinations either don't or they can't accommodate various diverse visitors. I do think the tide is changing, however, and a lot of destinations are now acutely aware that they must not only address a diverse and profitable visitor base, but they also need to help to educate their destination to embrace diversity in all its forms. Tourism is made up of different ages, backgrounds, religions, sexual orientations, identities, disabilities, and we should aim to create an atmosphere where everyone feels welcome and valued, regardless of their race, ethnicity or gender, religion or sexual orientation. So I do think that promoting diversity is key for Nevis, and I do think it's something that we can do better than we are.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Jane Hanson. I just want to remind the listeners out there that you can participate on the program by calling 469-1616 or 469-1700. Your call will be very much welcome. If there's anything you would like to discuss or any question you may have to ask our panelists this evening. But let me just start, Mr. Hanley. When one see the word Exposition Nevis 2024, what are you expecting them to be thinking about at this point?
Okay, an exposition is essentially a showcase of something. So because we are responsible for developing the product at Nevis, we want people to firstly understand the importance of tourism. We also want persons to understand that, as I said in my presentation, Nevis is a very small island. It's only 36 square miles, but the diversity of product that we have in our small island, a lot of times we as the residents, we either don't know about these elements, these facets of our tourism product. We either don't know or we don't take the time to appreciate what we have on island. So Exposition Nevis is that time of year set aside to showcase what Nevis has, to educate not only the visitors on our island, but also the locals about the richness that they had. As a matter of fact, during the pandemic, it was interesting that when persons couldn't fly to the US and Europe and so on, it was amazing to see how they came to that realization that they knew that there were so many people on island who knew so little about their own destination, and that was an opportunity. It was an eye-opener actually for many of them, and the concept of staycations became more pronounced at that time. So that in a nutshell is the essence of the word exposition, and that is why we chose that word, to showcase our tourism destination, to educate persons about our tourism product.
Okay, and you can jump in at any time if you want to help Mr. Hanley, or aid him, or assist him, or support him in answering any of these questions, or if you want to make a comment. What time of year is usually chosen for an exposition, or this exposition that is happening?
All right, exposition.
Do we have a set time of year? Are we having some events at this point in time? I don't think I got that clear. If there is things happening to reflect that time of year.
Okay, I'll be happy to clarify.
Yes, please.
Yes, so Exposition Nevis usually takes place generally in the month of May. Sometimes we start at the end of April, going over into May. But generally, it falls within the month of May. And the reason why we choose that time, that is just on the shoulder of when you're coming out of the high season. The high season in Nevis runs from mid-November to mid-April. So when we have our month of activities, we're just coming out of that, and we want to showcase that even though we are not in the high season, that there's still a lot to do on island, etc. In terms of activities, every year we have a robust calendar of events. This year we started with, and we do a lot of collaboration, because we realize that's a very important part of tourism product development. Government doesn't have the resources to do everything, but there are a lot of synergies that can be derived from collaborating with other government departments and also private sector entities. So we started off with the 200th anniversary service at the Cuttle Church, and here we have the history of the Cuttle Church. It was a church that was built by John Cuttle to so that the slaves and the masters could worship together. And then we also had the 10th anniversary of the Jessup Seafood Fiesta. That is an initiative that was started by the Department of Community Development, and as I said before, community development is something that the Ministry of Tourism strongly promotes. So we were happy to collaborate. We have been happy to collaborate with them over the last 10 years. We also had an open day at the Heritage Village. Every year, persons get the opportunity to go to the Heritage Village. They can look at the artifacts and remind themselves of what life was like in the 1950s, 1960s, etc. Some of the old utensils that the rotary phone and the tinsel and the pour and those things that we certainly don't use anymore, but were a very important part of our culture at that time. I was probably not around at that time, of course. And of course, we showcase our cuisine. We have cooking demonstrations. We show people how to do turn corn and steamed fish, cassava musa. These are things that our young persons. We usually have a lot of students come to the Heritage Village on that day to share in the open day, and most of them have never tasted cornmeal and steamed fish before, and so they get an opportunity. Some of them are very reluctant because they're into the pizza and those fast food, the pizza and the hot dogs and so on. But when they allow themselves to become adventurous enough to try these local foods, some of them are really amazed, and there's that turnaround. During our month of activities, we also have what is called hospitality immersion, and we try to expose as many of our students as possible to tourism professionals around the island. So we take them to hotels, and we have the professionals who work on the lawn at Four Seasons, for example. Show them the machines that are used to trim the lawn or to do whatever on the lawn. we take them into the kitchen, and they will learn how to make maybe a cookie recipe or something like that. We take them in the laundry and we show them certain processes, etc. This year they went to Vanilla Paradise up at Hamilton, and they were able to see that's a brand new initiative that Ministry of Tourism strongly supports, and they were able to see that vanilla that they have tasted in ice cream. It's one right here in Nevis. Based on what I've heard, was a very insightful experience for the students. We also had what is called the Tourism Youth Congress, where we had the 3 high schools competing, and the Charleston Secondary School emerged winner, and Miss Warner from the Charleston Secondary School, she will be representing Nevis at the Regional Tourism Youth Congress organized by the Caribbean Tourism Organization. That will be held in the Cayman Islands later this year, sometime around September, October. And let me hasten to add that Nevis has won the regional competition on at least 2 occasions. So that essentially is a nutshell of what we have been able to do. Tonight, of course, we are using this as an opportunity.
I just wanted to cut you off, and because the call is coming in. Good evening.
Good evening. I am here listening with keen interest to what is being said. Now, it might surprise you that there are many, many people in St. Kitts who have never been to Nevis. And when I heard you all were promoting this Airbnb, I was thinking that maybe that can begin. You can begin to push that concept in St. Kitts, or people coming over. Because it will even prevent some people from having to go over and come back the same night. And linking the schools, because this is what you call internal. This is internal tourism, which some people don't know about or don't consider. Many of the school children in St. Kitts have never been to Nevis. Some have never been to Brimston, the same as now. So I kept thinking that we are losing a lot of opportunities. I want to ask a question though. Well, I've been to Nevis a lot of times. I used to bring over my grandchildren on Saturdays and go around the other on the public buses. I once went into the bakery, the Brand Bakery?
Yes, Brand Bakery.
Yes. And while I was in there, I saw a lot of what we just call foreigners, Europeans, white people. You get the concept?
Yeah.
Coming in and shopping and having conversation with the workers and so. You don't see much of that in St. Kitts, I don't know if you're aware of it. So I was wondering what contributes to such congeniality. You get the question?
Yes.
Yeah. Why they partake in school programs, book clubs. We don't see that in St. Kitts.
Okay, well, what
can we learn from you? I'll hang up and listen.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, thank you very much for that question. One of the things I think that contributes significantly to what you described is the fact that Nevis has a robust tourism education program. So we begin to educate our students in the primary schools. All primary schools on the island have a tourism education program, and our officers from the Ministry of Tourism they have a schedule where they go to the primary schools, and there's a curriculum that they follow, a curriculum that is crafted by the Caribbean Tourism Organization, and it is followed, and of course it is contextualized to suit the destination specifics of Nevis. And of course one of the things that they are taught is that it is very important to treat our visitors in a friendly manner, treat them with respect, etc. And I could attest to this, because even though I'm not Caucasian and I speak with a very Nevisian accent, many times I'm walking through town and school children who don't know me from Adam pass me on the road and they say, "Good morning." So these are the kind of things that we need to encourage. These good virtues, we need to certainly encourage these things. And if we can practice these things among ourselves, then certainly it will be very easy to demonstrate these courtesies to our visitors.
Thank you very much, Carla, for that very far-reaching question, and I would like to follow through on that question, Mr. Hanley. What do you say about the general feeling of comfortableness of the tourists in Nevis? As the caller make reference to that she came to Nevis and been to the bakery and, you know, walking to people who seems to be tourists, it seems to be very comfortable here in Charlestown.
Well, as I'll put it this way: Nevis, the people of Nevis, they are known as a very friendly people. I've been to most of the destinations in the Caribbean. Some are pretty friendly, and some really are not. You know, some destinations I have to be very careful who I ask questions to. There's some destinations where people would actively try to take advantage of strangers. Once they hear your accent, they try to take advantage of you. I've had that experience, unfortunately. However, there's a genuineness about the people of Nevis. It is just part of our culture and part of our DNA, so to speak, that we like visitors and we like to help visitors. So that's what I would attribute to that. And
Yeah,
I don't know if Jane has a different perspective.
No, actually, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think Nevis is one of the friendliest places in the Caribbean. I first came here 12 years ago to do a triathlon race, and I was absolutely blown away with the friendliness of the people. I mean, I was walking down the main high street on the second day that I had visited Nevis, and someone actually said to me, "Hello, Jane." They knew who I was because I had met them the night before in a bar, and they had recognized me, and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, everybody, without exception, always is polite and friendly. I mean, every morning I'll say morning to people when I'm out on my walk or run, and every single person, bar none, always replies. And I've heard this consistently from any visitor that I've ever had on this island. So that's one of the main USPs, unique selling points, in my opinion, of this destination, Nevis especially, over any other destination in the Caribbean. People understand, tourists understand that Nevisians are very friendly, and not just that, but they always say it seems a very authentic friendliness. They want to be friendly, they are being friendly, there's no ulterior motive, and they're just pleased to kind of have visitors on their island.
I gather that there continue to be some activities, some events, and it sounds like it's more than a week of activities. Is it a month?
It's an entire month of activities. As a matter of fact,
okay. How far are we with the activities?
Well, we're pretty much winding down. This week we're doing some of the last activities for our students, the hospitality immersion component. But one of our highlights was a collaborative event that we had. Well, actually, it was a brainchild of the Department of Community Development, one of our closest partners in terms of a government agency. They came up with the idea of a Nevis Heritage Festival. And when we heard that, we really liked the idea, so we reached out to them, and we expressed a willingness to partner with them, and they were happy to do so. And as I indicated in my earlier remarks, we had about 10 nations. We had Grenada, Jamaica, St. Lucia, Dominica, and we had some African nations. So we had about 10 nations in all, displaying their food, their cultural dances, their folklore, etc. So it was a very good experience at the Malcolm Richard Recreational Park. Of course, we, the Nevisians, we had our culture. We had our Johnny Cake and Saltfish. We had what else did we have? And of course, we had our cultural dances like the masquerades and the clowns and yes. So it was a good show, and it really encapsulated the concept of diversity. And I think everybody who was there at that event at the Malcolm Richard Park on Saturday, the 25th, I think they were very satisfied. It made good business sense for the vendors because they also had very good sales. So it is something that we want to continue to collaborate with the Department of Community Development, and we want to take this opportunity to thank the general public for the overwhelming support.
So I just also want to add to that. Some of the events that I have recently heard about, and the events that John has been speaking about today are just incredible. I went to the Nevis Heritage evening, and it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. This is one of the best venues on the island, with a wonderful little cafe, with a wonderful chef, and a lot of people on Nevis, I think a lot of locals don't know about it, and equally a lot of tourists don't know about it. I mean, the other events that Mr. Hanley was talking about too, like the Culturam. Well, apart from Culturam, that's actually a fairly kind of like well documented event. But some of the smaller events, they're fantastic things that are happening on Nevis, and although they are predominantly being pitched to the local Nevisians, who, we want them to understand how the amazing things that are happening on Nevis. I really believe that these are the events that international visitors would always be interested in as well. So I actually think that those products should be promoted by the Nevis Tourist Authority to an international audience, because that doesn't really happen as much. I mean, we never hear about these local wonderful events with the school kids attending, and with nights at the Nevis Heritage. It's these local venues that aren't maybe as focused on so much as some of the kind of bigger hotel events, and I do think that's a mistake, because I think people want authenticity and they want diversity, and they don't just want to eat in international restaurants every night. They want to seek out the local vendors, the local kind of the great little places like Rosie's Patties and the Heritage Museum, and the places that are kind of like local hangouts. And I feel like we could do more. The tourist authority could do more to promote these great local places to an international audience, because it is something that actually really does drive visitors. They want to come and they want to explore all of these authentic places, and not just have a week in a hotel on the beach.
Jane, I should have asked you from the beginning. Sponge marketing.
Yeah.
What is, or who is sponge marketing?
Oh, so
Sorry,
No, it's fine.
A bit late.
So Sponge Marketing is a marketing agency in London, which I have run for the past 12 years. And when I first came to Nevis 12 years ago, I actually came to compete in the triathlon. And it was a great race. I won the race, and I met the Premier, Mark Brantley, and I was blown away by the island. On day 2, I thought it was the most fabulous place I'd ever visited, and I couldn't understand why it wasn't really very popular. Many British people just didn't even know where Nevis was, or St Kitts for that matter. And then I was lucky enough to be awarded the Nevis PR account, so then it became my job to promote Nevis in the UK to the British population, and encourage Brits to come over. So I then subsequently did that for 8 years, focusing on niche audiences, actually, because I really believe that that's the way that we should be marketing Nevis. It's a very small island. There's 400 hotel rooms. In fact, there's even less now that Nisbet has closed. So at any one point in time, excluding the Airbnb stock, you can only really have 800 people on this island. So, by focusing on niche audiences like sport, swimming, diving, culinary, food, birding, heritage, I believe that that's the way to attract visitors to Nevis and to fill the hotel rooms. And so the Nevis ministry, as product creators, I think that that's a fantastic role, because John's already mentioned the various kind of like focused areas that there are product development for, and I really do believe that that's the way to promote Nevis and to actually make sure that this island is busy, not just throughout the high season, but also in the low season. I mean, Nevis has a diverse range of amazing characteristics. So, you know, if we can actively promote swimmers to come, hikers to come, bird fanatics to come, and people who love mangoes to come, then, you know, we'll do well.
Is there anything in particular you're doing at this point that is quite exciting in your area for Nevis?
Yeah, there is actually. So I recently took over the organisation of the Nevis to St Kitts Cross-Channel Swim, a race that had been run by Winston Crook for the last 20 years. And last year, I think the numbers were just under 200, but since I've taken it over, and I'm doing a collaboration with a UK swimming holiday company called SwimTrek, who are promoting it to their database. Now, SwimTrek, actually, I met 8 years ago when I sought them out and presented Nevis to them in a travel expo in London. The way that we did that was that actually Winston got into a kayak with the Garmin from my bike, and I swam around all the different beaches on Nevis, and we put together a week-long swimming itinerary for SwimTrek, and sold them a week-long swimming holiday, which we wanted them to sell to their customers. I mean, they are the world's biggest swimming holiday company. They run swim trips to the Maldives, to the Galapagos and to the Caribbean, as well as all through the Med. And they started coming to Nevis 7 years ago. They came for 1 week in March. And now they have 3 weeks in March, and they come for 3 weeks in November. So effectively, they're now coming for almost 2 months, bringing 15 people each week, mostly staying at Awali Beach. However, so that's a lot of hotel nights that they're coming. So a tiny niche sport like swimming is already selling hundreds of rooms.
Okay, one moment. Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Conrad.
Good evening, sir.
And your guests. I'm here listening, and it's very interesting. Now, hear what I have to say now. The difference between the people of Nevis and the people of St. Kitts comes from way back before you and I and your guests were born. And you know what the difference was? In St. Kitts, whether you go to work today, yes or not, you were sure of a payday. When in Nevis, there wasn't anything called a payday. So the Nevisians had to be as friendly as possible, as courteous as possible, to create customers to buy what they had to sell. So Nevis people had to make their own payday. And if they were unfriendly, then they would not eat. So that is the difference between the people of Nevis and the people of St. Kitts. Nevis had no payday, they had to make their own payday. So you got to be friendly and courteous for people to patronize your business. That's all I could say.
Thank you, caller. That's very interesting. I guess it's paying off now. The fact that we didn't have a payday, it's paying off now. But Mr. Hanley, as the sun sets on the month of activity, is there anything to look forward to? Is there a grand finale happening, or was it Saturday gone?
I think Saturday was pretty much the highlight of our month of activities. However, let me take this opportunity to let persons know that we have the St. Kitts and Nevis Restaurant Week coming up. That runs from the 11th to the 21st of July. Those persons who love dining out, it's an opportunity to taste papaya. Papaya is the theme ingredient for this year. So the chefs, they will go all out with their creativity, and they will create dishes and cocktails, of course, from papaya. We also have the Nevis Mango Festival that runs from the 4th to the 7th of July, and it's going bigger and bigger every year. This year is the 10th anniversary, so the Nevis Tourism Authority is pulling out all stops to make it a really grand event. I know they've got a lot of inquiries and so on, and they're going to make it a really special event. So we invite everyone to check the Nevis Mango Festival website, and also call the Nevis Tourism Authority, check out our Facebook pages, and come on out and support this great event.
Well, I guess we are coming down to closing time. 469-1616, 469-1700 is the numbers. Good evening, caller. Good evening, caller. Can you please try again? So there's anything at all, any one of you would like to, well, I guess let's take one at a time in terms of saying to the general public and just wrapping up what you would like to.
I have a question for Jane.
To communicate to the public. Yeah?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, just one moment. Good evening, caller.
Hello.
Good evening, caller.
Good evening. I don't understand what the caller was really trying to say, you know. Nevis people had their own petty. Nevis people didn't have to pretend to be friendly. Nevis people are the kind of people, if I kill a sheep or a goat, the neighbor gets some. And we still do bartering, and we still look out for each other, and we had our own land as much as possible. And these are things we could have go back to. How many citizens down there? I know when I worked down there in 1972, Nevisian had houses down there, and I'm talking about wall houses, on rent, renting to the same citizens. And I am not pleased with him. It sounds good for him to be calling in and saying that as if, oh, well, Nevis people had to make out with whatever it is. So they had to be friendly. But that is very sad, citizens ain't friendly, you know. That is a sad, sad thing. So, Nevis people know how to get around, and that's why we could have built our own houses early and do what we had to do. Y'all have a good night. I'm enjoying the program. And thanks.
Thank you very much, caller.
All right.
Go ahead, Mr. Stanley.
Yes, my question to you, Jane, and we are segueing back to the topic, which speaks about peace and diversity. Having coordinated the cross-channel swim, how did you see that contributing to diversity?
Oh, well, we had, in terms of the territories that came, we actually had an increase on past years of 100 people. So we had 300 people coming this year to swim the channel, and it was wonderful. There were many Americans, we had Canadians, we had Brazilians, there were a few French, a German, some Austrians, about 45 Brits. We had somebody from Zimbabwe, Ecuador, Uruguay, and the BVI, and the various Caribbean islands. We had the contingent from Antigua, Ceiba, and San Martin, and Antigua. So it was fabulous. So certainly from a geographical diversity standpoint, I think it was wonderful. We were very pleased that people recognised this as a unique event, and it really is a unique event. You know, I mean, really, there are marathons in many other Caribbean countries. I've done the Barbados Marathon, and it's quite nice. It's as nice as the Nevis Marathon, but there is no event in the Caribbean like what we have. You cannot swim from one island to the next. It's famous. I mean, it's wonderful, and it connects both islands, which is why I like it so much, because it's a true product of the Federation, and the word is getting out. We're now being voted in the world's top 100 swims, and people are coming to St. Kitts and Nevis. They want to do the swim. We have 200 people signed up already for next year. I mean, we will go through that 300 barrier, and I think we will hit 500 people. We had to order 200 more timing chips, so I'm very excited about that. And actually, one of the ladies who's coming next year, on the topic of diversity, she is a disabled athlete. She has 2 prosthetic legs, and she has asked how we can accommodate her. So what we're doing is she has a wheelchair which we're going to be able to get right down to the water's edge, and then we can carry her into the water, and she will swim over. So it's phenomenal.
With prosthetic legs?
Yeah, well, she takes them off, and she swims. She's actually a very good swimmer. It's a fallacy that you actually need legs to swim. I mean, there's some wonderful para triathletes and para swimmers who can manage to power themselves through the water with their arms. It's really quite something.
It's amazing.
So we think we're doing well on the diversity front for the cross-channel swim.
Yeah, so based on your answer, sports tourism is a powerful vehicle for stimulating diversity in tourism. So it's something that we have to push and we have to continue.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's key. I mean, I think it appeals to a wide range of genders, people with disabilities. I mean, it really is a unifier of people. I mean, sport is a great leveler. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how much money you earn. If you're doing an event like the cross-channel swim, the main goal is to get over to the other side, is to complete the sporting task. And I think sport is a fantastic leveler for everybody.
It is.
Great. Final word from you both then.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed the chat, and I do want to congratulate Mr. Hanley on all of the products that him and his department have created, because really I think it's truly outstanding. And I really think that we should promote these local events to an international audience. That's what I think. Especially, I want to say that one initiative that I think is outstanding is the homestay initiative for Culturama. I think it's one of the cleverest things I've come across, and I think it's wonderful. It's a system whereby people who come to Culturama don't necessarily stay in hotels, but they can stay with local people on Nevis, and I think that's a genius move.
Well, thanks very much for that, Jane. The Ministry of Tourism, of course, is always very happy to collaborate with you. You have been an excellent partner, and it was an absolute pleasure when you reached out to us to collaborate on the cross-channel swim. And I am absolutely delighted to sit here and hear you name out all those countries, where Nevis was able to attract people. Of course, when we attract 2 persons from Australia in 2024, who knows? We might have 6 next year. So there may be a multiplier effect. So I want to thank One Radio, of course, again for the opportunity that they have afforded to the Ministry of Tourism to have this forum where we could expound the topic. I want to thank the callers for their very thought-provoking questions. And I want all of us to recognize that tourism is everyone's business. It is very important for all of us to realize that tourism is a really important vehicle for peace, and all of us have a part to play in making sure that we have a peaceful environment, a peaceful society, so that persons can come here and experience that tranquility that is spoken about in our national anthem. And we also embrace diversity. We want people from all over the world, people of different backgrounds and people of different ethnicities and so on, to come to Nevis, because Nevis is, as far as I'm concerned, the best destination in the world. Thank you very much again.
Thank you guys for coming in, and we look forward to hearing more from you guys, knowing that we don't want it to be seasonal, and I'm talking about tourism. We want to have tourism throughout the whole year, and tourists here on island. And speaking of tourism as something as important as it is to the island. So thank you guys, and we are hoping to see you guys again when you guys are promoting another event, or even anything exciting, I suppose. One Radio is always willing to accommodate you guys. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paradise is offering a large variety of floor and wall tiles at very competitive prices. Builders Paradise has over 2 million pieces in stock, lots of different styles to choose from. Whether you're renovating or tiling a new house, Builders Paradise has what you need.
Wow!
Oh, and remember, we're open all day Saturday to serve you better.
This is something that you can't refuse.
Visit Builders Paradise today at the CA Paul Southwell Industrial Site in St. Kitts or call them at 466-4938.
We are back here on Let's Talk. We are now into the second segment of the Let's Talk program, and we have with us tonight the regular panelists. Mr. Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Libert, and I just want to say a special good evening to all the persons who are listening, and of course those who are viewing. Before I go any further, Naya, I want to say congratulations to you. I listened the first half of the program, and I think that you are truly a heavyweight. You know, you would have fit in nicely, in my opinion, Naya. And again, congratulations. Just want to say that. Naya, over the past few days, Naya, we were wrapped, with some sad news of the death of a young lady from the Hamilton area. One, darling, Miss Huggins. I want to say sympathy to her family and her friends. I think that it is really sad for anyone to die by the gun. And I understand that one of her siblings is in the hospital, so I want to wish him, a speedy recovery. I do not know the young man, but of course I knew Darlene for many years. I think when she was going school, there was a program, a summer program, and she was attached to NASPA at Long Point, and there's where I met Darlene maybe 19, 20 years ago. And again, I want to say sympathy to her family and friends. And Naya, also want to say sympathy, greetings to the family and friends of Shani Molly from the Rollins area. She sadly passed away earlier today. Shani is one who I knew very well, I would say very well. A young lady, she is one that one would consider the life of the party, very robust, full of life, Naya, and I want to sympathize with all those who are mourning at this time, Naya. Naya, I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion this evening, and I want to say thanks once again for the invitation.
Honorable Spencer Brand, good evening.
Good evening, Naya, and a very pleasant good evening to our listeners here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and certainly further afield. Naya, I want to join with Roger for congratulating you on, I believe, making your debut as the host of this very prominent and very auspicious show. I have had the privilege of sitting across from you, and I believe that with all of the years that you have spent here, it was probably just a natural progression for you to assume that responsibility at some point. I certainly want to say a very pleasant good evening to our regular host, the great Everett Rebel, wherever he is. I certainly want to wish him a very wonderful evening. I also want to say good evening to our fellow panelists, the great Edric W. Starling, wherever they are tonight. Certainly want to wish them a wonderful evening. Naya, when I got the invitation to come here tonight, I had to muster some extra effort and extra energy.
That's good.
Because for the last few days been feeling, been in that zone of being very much down. Roger spoke about the incident here in the Hamilton area. A very sad and tragic and unfortunate situation where we would have seen the loss of life of a very young, vibrant, talented young woman, Joelle Huggins. It is still something, Naya, that I, for one, cannot comprehend. It is still something that burns through your vein with mixed emotion and mixed feeling. I know her very well. I know her brother very well, Julian, another talented, skillful young man. For me, Naya, I have spoken to the mother, and I know that she is extremely devastated. Omel, I started by saying to her, I don't know what to say to you. You know, words have really left me as to what to say to you. Naya, Joel leaves a 13-year-old son. A 13-year-old son. The pride and joy of her life. And this child, 13 years old, now have to dig deep, and I believe that with the help of the family and with the help of the community, as to how to make sense of all of this. I really can't see any sense of this. I want to say, Naya, to Omel and to my very good friend, Doreen, who is close family, and to the entire family, how saddened I am to have heard of this incident and trying to stay in close contact with family members. That this is not who we are as a people. This is not what Nevis is all about. We just had before us two persons from promoting tourism here on the island of Nevis. But put tourism aside. Let's separate tourism from the Nevis setup. This is not who we as a people are. Sure. And this is something that all of us, from all walks of life, from all political persuasion, from all of the pulpits, from all of the everywhere, should condemn unreservedly. Now, you know, I think oftentimes we go through these kinds of incidences here in the Federation, and we listen to them throughout the region, and we we try to make sense of why. And I can't come up with any reason why.
The word hope, does that exist?
We have to live in hope, Naya. We have to live in hope that tomorrow can be and should be and ought to be a better day.
Yes.
If we do not live in hope, then we have nothing else left.
True.
You understand? We have to be able to pick up ourselves from these kind of situation, and as painful and as difficult and as awful as it is, we have to be able to pick up ourselves and look at ourselves and say, this is not who we are. We have had some other incidences in the Hamilton area. A part of my constituency. The entire Hamilton area is, in my mind, a very close-knit community. Just like Stony Grove, just like Hamilton, our various pockets of communities are very close-knit communities. And what would affect one would affect the entire community, and by extension the entire island and the entire federation. You ask if there is hope. I believe that there is hope, and we must believe in hope. Naya, I want to offer my condolences to the entire family. Like I said, Julian is someone who I know very well, a skillful, talented individual, and I just hope and pray that he would be able to come out on the other side. I also want to say, Naya, to offer my condolences on the passing of my former boss there at TDC, William Griffin, to his dear wife and family. I must say, Naya, that I worked for TDC for a while. I worked under his when he was the manager there at TDC, and when I decided to leave TDC, I must say that I got some choice words from two gentlemen. William Griffin was one. And he wasn't happy for me to leave. And he said something back in 1995. And he was right. I cannot use the kind of words here on Van Radio. It is not within Van Radio broadcast standard. But the essence of what he was saying have come to pass. Like I said, two gentlemen. One is still working at TDC. As a matter of fact, one is now in the senior management of TDC. And the same train of thought that William Griffin used in his certain type of language. Similar language. And both of them are right. I have worked with William Griffin. He had his style of management. And one of the things that I recognized working with him was, you are not a child. You didn't come here to drink milk. You came here to work.
Yes.
You are not a child. You did not come to TDC to drink milk. You came to work. That was something that stuck with me. And we had to work. I remember working there with a good, wonderful lady, Neville Manners. I believe she's now either in St. Thomas or in the US. From, I believe, up in the Rollins area. Zion. She was my, so to speak, supervisor. Both her and Cynric Morton. Cynric Morton taught me how to mix car paint.
Yeah.
You understand? And the late William Griffin said to me, this is not any deck here you didn't come here to. And I want to certainly offer my condolences to his dear wife Margaret and to his entire family. I know my wife is some cousin, and very close cousin, and William Griffin in my mind was one of those individuals who put in the development of Nevis more than a pound of flesh. From the infant days of TDC, he would have, in my mind, been one of the cornerstones in the transformation, so to speak, in the supply of building materials here on the island of Nevis. When TDC went to Pinnies, a lot of people was asking, well, them people, they're crazy.
Yeah. So far down there.
So far down there, where they going? And men of vision, Naya. He was a part of executing that vision. And his role in TDC is one that I believe would go down as one of the executioners, so to speak, of those who had the vision. Because it's one thing to have vision, it's one thing to have an idea, but you must have men and women who understand the vision and are able to execute and develop that.
Stop you for a moment there. Good evening, caller.
Good evening, Naya. Good evening to your other panelists.
Good evening.
I would just like to place on record my condolences to William Griffin's family, Margaret, who has been a dear friend of mine over the years, and his daughter Valencia. And on behalf of my son and I, he's my son's uncle. But William was a very hard-working man.
Oh yeah.
Very dedicated man. And very serious at what he does. I used to joke with him. I said, "You always seem so serious. Smile, man, smile." And we would have a little chuckle. A soul is gone. A soul is gone. There's been so many in the recent times. It's overwhelming. But he was a man who was willing to share his knowledge and to encourage one as they, especially if you were younger in age than he was. I always got that feeling. He took on the role of a father or a parent counseling you. You know, he wasn't one to talk a lot, but when he did, he had, the words were deep.
Yes.
The words were deep. Mr. Bryan, I was listening to you just now and I smiled because I thought, okay, that's the person that I knew. That's the person that I knew, you know. And we have to cherish people like that. The unfortunate thing is that we only get to say these things when they're not here. And we should really take the time to say them. You know, it should be another reminder of us to take the time to say these to the ones we love over and over and over every day. You gentlemen have a good evening. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Well, I know Mr. Griffin as a left-arm medium pace bowler. Do you know him as a cricketer?
Yes, I well, as a youngster.
Did he represent Nevis at any time?
I can't recall, but I knew he...
I know him as a left-arm medium pace bowler. And when I saw him last, I said to him, you think he was a better bowler than Hugo? You know Hugo from Antigua? And he looked at me and said, but we bowl the same thing. And it was true, because I was pulling his leg, because Hugo was a left-arm medium pace bowler also, you know, and he was a good cricketer, William Griffin. A good guy. I never worked with him, but after he left TDC, we had many conversations, and he was contented, you know. He went into the farming, looking after his cows, and you know, his mind seems to be in a right place at that point in time. But let's reflect a little bit on on the previous panelists and what they were on about, because here we see tourism connecting through peace, and I didn't want to ask them if Nevis was peaceful enough, but I feel more comfortable asking you guys. I don't know why. Mr. Fifield, what do you think? Oh, let me stop you there. Good evening. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I just want to share my sympathy with Mrs. Griffin, and I just called to give my little input. Mr. Griffin was a very good dancer. Yeah. He was my partner when I was, you know, in my days going to dance. He was a very, very good dancer. Yeah, but, you know, he'll be greatly missing. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Mr. Fifield?
Yes, Naya, thank you. Naya, I just want to start out by answering you this way. You would have asked Honorable Brand about hope. And one Princess Nevia sang a song some years ago, and it goes something like this. How can we overcome? How can we cope when there seems to be no hope? But as Mr. Brand rightfully said, Naya, we must have hope. We must be optimistic. We cannot just throw in the towel. If we were to do that, we would be giving away our island, our country, to a few bad apples. Now, I want to say generally, Nevis is peaceful. The Caribbean as a whole is a peaceful place. The difference is, though, Naya, in my opinion, is most persons on Nevis, if not everyone, know each other. If I don't know you, I know of your uncle, your cousin, your grandfather, somebody. And we are closely knit here in Nevis. And when we hear of a murder, it touches everyone. It touches everyone, Naya. It doesn't matter who the person that would have been murdered is. It doesn't matter. Because we must remember that that person, they have family. They have loved ones. They have whether a mother, a father, a brother, an uncle, a cousin, a spouse, somebody. But what the appeal that I want to make, Naya, is that we as a society We cannot afford to allow these few bad apples to take control of our beautiful Nevis. If they were to take control, Naya, Nevis would go to the dogs. We must remember and understand that tourism is our main industry, and tourism is so fragile. It only takes one phone call, one Facebook or Instagram post to spew something negative about Nevis for persons to stop visiting our beautiful shores. We can't afford that. So I want to say to those bandits out there that they must remember that even if they are not directly in the employ of a hotel or tourism related industry, someone they know, maybe a friend, a sister, a cousin, a brother, an uncle, a parent, somebody is in the employ of such industry. And if these killings were to continue, then you are taking bread out of persons that care about you and that you probably care about mouths. Do you want that to happen? And some of these persons who are committing these crimes, I am wondering if they would, I assume they are premeditated. It's not just as if that, you go out to hang out and maybe you get in a fight and then you give somebody a box or something and maybe hit them the wrong way, or you grab a stone and you hit them in the head and something happened and then they unfortunately passed away. But for you to, in the first instance, to purchase a gun, an illegal gun, bearing in mind that guns are not manufactured here, so more than likely they are imported illegally. So you would have gone through all of that to bring in a gun illegally and then to use it to kill your fellow man. There's no sense. No sense in that. No gratification in that. I mean, you cannot tell me that after you would have killed someone you are happier. Really? If, in my opinion, I may sound silly, but in my opinion, maybe I'm from the old school. If you want respect, and I'm not saying this to encourage persons to do this, but if you want respect, when I was going to school, you see someone pass and you want a person to respect you. Let me just be mild. You just get the person a scuff and the person, next time they realize, they have to bow down, so to speak. But what I am saying, if you kill someone, how the person is going to respect you? How the person is going to respect you? Who in the right mind going to respect you as a murderer? I don't think anybody in the right mind. So Naya, back to the question. I'm sure the Honorable Minister would want to chime in on this. I think generally we are a peaceful island. We are a peaceful nation. As I said, it's just a few bad apples, and we cannot, and we should not, and we shall not allow them to overpower us, the majority of us who are peaceful here on Island Naya.
Mr. Brian?
Naya, over the last few days, obviously, we have seen and witnessed a sense of restlessness and ease that obviously would have disrupted our level of peace in the country and tranquility in the country. I said earlier that this is not who we are as a people. And we have to recognize that, as Roger indicated, the majority of Nevisians, the majority of persons who have now make Nevis their homes, are peace-loving, law-abiding citizens.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe, Naya, that we are to concede, as Roger indicated, that we are to concede to a few. Nevis is too valuable and too precious for that to happen. There is obviously a high sense of concern. There is some semblance of fear. There is, of course, a level of anger and frustration, and all of those are emotions that is right to feel those kind of emotions. People have a right to be angry. The level of frustration is right, because this is not who we are.
But are we changing? Are we not changing?
Changing
Maybe
for
it's not who we were.
Changing for the worse, Naya?
No, I'm not advocating that we are changing for the worse, but aren't we? Nevis is a closed society, and we communicate a lot. We chat a lot to people's news.
Mm-hmm.
You know, always sussing about something and what they hear, but how come no one talks about what they see when these things happen anymore? And that's why I'm asking: are we changing?
No, yeah, there has obviously.
I mean, there's a tight lip when these things happen, in a major way. And that so when Roger said we can't allow them to take over, who is them? Because it doesn't seem like we know who are doing these things.
But it must be someone.
But it's got to be someone.
Mm-hmm.
But are we looking at other areas of failures within ourselves or our system?
You know, Naya,
that's just a question.
Naya, I believe that it goes back to the home, and you know, with development, you know, you would expect certain things come along with development, Naya. But at the same time, we have to bear in mind how we even socialize in the home, meaning, Naya, most persons now would have a bedroom for themselves. I can recall growing up, we had at least 3 or 4 of us in one bedroom, and at least two of us on a bed. sometimes 3 of us on a bed. And I'm saying this, Naya. When we're in that room, and there was one TV in the front room. When we're in that room, we talk, we get an understanding how to conduct or go about having a conversation. We laugh, we joke, we sleep. Some of us slept really badly. We throw our legs and we hit each other, maybe even in the face. And we understand that, hey, we could appreciate getting a knock in the face, because that is what we were accustomed to. We were accustomed to communicate better. We were accustomed to watch one television, we discuss the movie or whatever was coming on, and we laugh, we talk. Now, each individual is in their room. I guess they laugh and they talk with the television. Each individual is on a bed. They roll from one side to the next side. So when they might be in a congested area at a social event and someone rush on them accidentally, they don't understand that it's a part of it. You are in a congested area. You are going to get touched. You are going to get pushed. And I believe they don't know how to go about it. And they maybe go from 0 to 100. And maybe the person that the other person probably have the same short fuse, same mentality, and they go from 0 to 100 too. And then you understand the conflict and what could happen after this. I'm saying, let us look at our homes first, how we raise our children. I think the onus is on us as parents to instill the values in our children. We don't have to leave it up to the school. The school and the churches, they would reinforce them. But we have to let them know what it is. The church, I suppose, would speak to them about God and to be reverent and to be God-fearing and such like. And I believe, Naya, if we can go back to those basic norms, thou shalt not kill. You know, we speak about the Bible and sometimes we say an eye for an eye. Okay, but take it in context. If we are supposed to say an eye for an eye, then the same Bible said, you know, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. So who are we? Are we the Lord to take vengeance? So I believe everything have to come and everything would have to be in context, Naya. And if we can go back to that, because there are lots of us who are still alive who would have born in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and even 80s, you know. So I believe that there are enough of us who can, as parents, you know, who have that background, who rooted in that type of background, you know, to mold our children and stop being or trying to be friends to our children. Be a father, be a mother. Our children are not necessarily our friends. Our children are our children, and we should teach them the right way. And I believe that with that, Naya.
Okay.
Naya, you asked, have we changed?
Mm-hmm.
And of course we have seen some changes here on the island of Nevis. We have become more materialistic. We have seen where the availability of things, materialistic things, are now more of what we are seeking after. Roger would have said that a lot of what is happening goes back to what is happening in our homes. And I agree with him to some extent. And he rightfully would have outlined how perhaps the family structure now have changed significantly. We are now seeing more demands and more stress on the family structure. More single homes, single family homes.
Mhm.
Yes, we had single family homes when I was growing up. And Roger spoke about the 3 and the 4 persons in a bed, and I smiled. That is who we are in the 60s and 70s and 80s. But have we departed from that appreciation of the sanctity of life so far that we are willing to, in a heartbeat and snap, that we are prepared to take what God has given us, life? That is a change, Naya, that is definitely a lot of cause for concern. There doesn't seem to be much pause in conflict. There doesn't seem to be, listen, let's find another way of resolving this. There doesn't seem to be any desire for settling our differences or dispute or difference of opinion in a critical way of thinking or reasoning. There now seem to be the ultimate way of settling any dispute, whatever those disputes may be. How did we get to a point such as this? These aren't things that happen overnight, where persons are prepared to go to that extreme.
But don't you think, Mr. Brand, we are supposed to change if the world around us are changing? With the influx of the millennium generation and this all these gadgets and so forth, we are supposed to change. So are we changing fast enough, or in a way, to stem the trouble that comes from the change that the world is making around us?
But Naya,
because for sure we cannot be like we were in the 60s.
I agree. And
okay,
and we are,
I'm asking. We are expected to change, but are we changing fast enough, or in a way that we can prevent what is happening? Are we coming abreast with to the demands that the world now?
Naya, whether it's in the 60s or in the 2024, the psyche and the appreciation and the sanctity of life.
Yes.
I can't see that we are to change to that extreme.
Well, it's not to that extreme. For instance, we see now, even within the family structure, even the pressures, economic pressures, we find mother and father and work and so forth.
Yes.
You know, so even within that structure of the family, we got to make changes. The
Yes.
question is, are we making the changes, the right changes? Are we making the changes fast enough to stem the consequence that may take place because of the economic pressure that family goes through? You know, it's quite a particular reaction, and it's very specific to me But the question is, what should we change to?
You ask the question,
or what changes we should be making?
You ask the question if we are changing fast enough.
Yeah, or in the right direction, or we are making changes at all to facilitate, the changing circumstance around us. Like I draw the example, like economic situation, family, mom and dad gone to work, and so mom and dad now will have to think differently about the kids they are leaving home.
Yes.
So they themselves gonna have to change their approach.
Yes.
To bringing up kids, as opposed to when maybe mom was at home with them all the time.
And we had grandmothers and aunts and so the whole structure, Naya, of raising our children have obviously changed. Right? You highlight the fact that now mom and dad are now working, and I stressed earlier that we are now spending a lot more time on acquiring a lot more of the materialistic things. And is it that because we are now making that extra effort that we are losing out in training and raising and teaching and disciplining our younger generation in the way in which that we should?
Naya, if I may chime in here, Naya, I think the question that you asked is a pertinent question, and I believe a few things. There would always be change, but there are certain fundamental things that ought not to change. Naya, yes, the family or members of the family, maybe parents, would have to go to work maybe 1 or 2 jobs. And I dare say, Naya, that we would have made changes. When we look around, we see, well, back in the 80s and probably 90s and before, you didn't have community centers. When we look around Nevis now, we are seeing a lot of community centers. So the facility, they are there. But I think what need to come, what we need to do is to have the social programs. The social programs, the parents, they are out. We need the social programs, and the community centers, they are already there. We need to put these social programs together so these youngsters, instead of roaming the streets, they can go to a community center in their area, and they could learn, whatever is to be learned there, instead of being unsupervised at home possibly, and maybe watching television, unsupervised, and they look at anything because, they have the luxury of 500 channels, and their parents not there, so they look at anything unsupervised, as I said. So if the parents, if these social programs were to come on board, in the Gingerland area, I think there are about 2-3 community centers in Charlestown. I'm not sure if there is any, but in St. Thomas's there are community centers, and we go all around the island and there are community centers. So I am saying that the social programs, maybe we are kind of slow in coming in the social programs, but when we look at it too, we look at the sports. There are a number of sporting activities, there are a number of basketball courts, there are a number of ball fields. People just need to be proactive and think and utilize these sporting courts and fields. Right now I think in the Rollins area there's a VPL league going on. Persons, just let's get out, let's when we engage in physical activities such as cricket and football, we don't have any time to engage in untowards stuff. So I believe that, one, there are certain fundamental things that need not to change. Your core beliefs, the norms, the values that were instilled in you. But of course, other things would change. You would get nicer clothes, nicer shoes, maybe earrings and perfumes and luxury cars and stuff. Those things would change. You know, but the fundamental thing, I don't think should change.
But I would answer you this way, or comment. We have seen that we have music, steel pan,
yes,
bands. We have quite a number of track teams, organizations that deal with athletics. Navy certainly have a very rich history of cricket and football. The cadets is struggling for membership. Scouts organization. There are entities within our various communities that is finding it extremely difficult to attract persons to be members on them. How much of our parenting are saying to our youngsters that you have to, or you should, or you must? I have witnessed, and nobody tell me, I have witnessed a parent asking a child, do you want to?
Friends. Friends.
I became a member of the Navy Symphony Band not by my auntie asking me if do I want to. My auntie tell me. I think now that those are some of the changes that we perhaps have seen that have not bear out the kind of results that we would have liked. Where it's almost like the tail is wagging the head. And I mean no disrespect to anyone, but it's almost as if now we are asking our children, do you want to, instead of saying to them, you need to, or you shall, or you will. And when you put that in context, we get a kind of change now that you ask about, and you see that perhaps those are some of the changes that have taken place in our society. I just spoke about cricket. You have a core of persons who are playing cricket. As a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, up to my early teens, you play cricket morning at night.
Yes.
And is not for any great spectacle. It was just a part of who we are and who we were. There have been some changes, and some of those changes now have probably been allowed, so to speak, to creep into the way in which we deal with our family structure, and we deal with our development and things like that.
Now this is the big question. Can we fix it?
Yes. We can fix it now. I chuckle when Minister Brand said that he heard a child asking a parent if they can.
No. The parent asking the child.
The parent, sorry, asking the child, if whatever you said. And I chuckle, and the reason why I chuckle, because I had a personal encounter, so to speak. I can recall when my first child was in grade 6. I was asked if he can take part in the youth pageant, and I said yes. And he didn't want it to. I asked him why, and when I looked at it, I recognized the benefits. You know, public speaking, you get out of your shyness, you could networking and stuff like that. And he said to me, "Daddy, me no want go in." I said, "Fine, I hear you. You would have said to me what you do not want to do. But now I am going to tell you what you are going to do. This is what you are going to do. You are going to go in and you are going to take part. You are going to learn whatever you have to learn, and you're going to go on the stage and you're going to try to execute it the best way that you possibly can." And he would have since come back to me and said that he happy he had the opportunity to take part. And not because they didn't win. They didn't win. I think they placed second runner up. But from that show, you know, he gained friends from all of the schools that took part. Some of the persons I would say, you know, "Well, who is this person?" You know, and he would say, "Well, you know, this person went in the show with me," and so forth. And he is one, when I was at his age, I would not have been in front of a microphone. And he can be in front of a microphone because he had that exposure. He was exposed to the stage at an early age. And I am saying, as parents, we have to think and help the children think too, because they cannot think for themselves to a certain level because they are yet children. And we would have passed through these things, and we have to guide them. We do not allow them to guide us. Yes, they have the input, you listen to them, but then you tell them and you guide them as the parent. So I really chuckle for that minister when minister said that. But I think it's us. It come back to us as parents, and we being too friend. We want to be friends. We don't want our children not to talk to us. I did something wrong. My dad or my mom put some licks on me, and let me not talk to them and see if we in more licks. You know, you just respect. I mean, I didn't even have to get licks. One watch across there, and then you ship shape.
Is that watch working for you with your kids these days?
Everything work.
Are we getting close to the end? Final word from
Naya, I'm hearing the music in my headphone, but I just wanted to say, Naya, we will continue to live in hope, and obviously,
yes,
whatever difficulty that we are going through, we definitely can change. We can change
for the better.
It is not the end of it all. It's painful, it is frustrating, it is difficult, but I believe that there is something, and there are a number of things that we will have to do to come out on the other side.
Well, I'm on your side with that, and that's the final word. I want to thank the general public for participating in this program tonight, and for all those who have tuned in. This program repeats tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and you tune in on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock for On Your Mark. I thank you once again. May God bless you guys. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis